Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Crucial Conversations podcast. My goal on this platform is to empower others towards self-fulfillment. These are the conversations that you need to have to unlock your maximum potential. Whether you are feeling confused about your path in life, falling in love, starting a business, healing your inner child, moving to a foreign country, embarking on your spiritual journey, or building generational wealth, let's talk. The range of emotions and experiences that allow us to fully live our lives on Earth are beautiful and yet can be difficult to navigate. My goal is to create a safe space to talk about life, the good and the bad, in an effort to share wisdom, advice, and insight. I want to connect with you. I want to encourage you and empower you to live the life of your dreams, while reminding you that that does not always mean that you need to change your circumstances. Together, we will help each other level up and have the crucial conversations necessary to do so. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my first official episode of the Crucial Conversations podcast. I am so excited to finally launch this podcast. I've been working on it for quite some time, and I'm just really happy that I've been able to throw this together and start living out my dreams. So for my first episode, I have decided to throw an interview that I did as a part of a Women's Inspiration Network on here to share my journey and my experience and who I am, so that I can premise this platform with my own little spice of humanity. And I'm really excited. So please enjoy. This is a lot about me, and I only do that because I would like to form a foundation for connection, so that as I start speaking with all of you guys on episodes every week, you have some sense of who I am. So enjoy this first episode all about me, and from here on, we will be hashing out those crucial conversations in order to unlock our maximum potential together. Enjoy, you guys, and thank you so much for listening.
Currently, I am the general manager of Goldfish Swim School in West Bloomfield. But before accepting this position in May of 2022, I've done lots of things that have put me in the place that I am in my life right now. So I will delve into a little bit of information about myself. I am 22 years old, and I graduated from Michigan State in 2021 as a marketing grad. And I am currently the general manager of Goldfish Swim School, West Bloomfield, as was mentioned. And on the side, I also really enjoy creating and editing videos for brand building for other companies, and really just to capture an experience. That's one of my kind of ongoing passion projects. And I do consider myself an entrepreneur and a brand builder. Previous to accepting my position with Goldfish, and I'll go into this a little bit more, I actually started my own learn to swim and competitive endurance-based program in the Oakland County area. So I have been around swimming my entire life, and as is evident from all of my past experience, I've found a way to incorporate it into a little bit bigger portion of, my business ventures and things moving forward, even after I stopped swimming competitively. So it still holds a really big place in my heart. Ever since I was a child, I've loved swimming, but I've definitely spun it into something a little bit more bigger picture since I've grown up. Some of the hobbies that I sincerely enjoy and I feel like make me who I am as a person include traveling, sailing, hiking, surfing, snowboarding, reading, podcasting, rock climbing, yoga, CrossFit, adventuring, public speaking, empowering others, and connecting with communities. All of these activities really allow me to exercise the parts of myself that make me feel most alive and present in this life. So those are the activities that I really enjoy kind of in my free time, and try to make as much time for those activities as possible. Towards the back half of those activities that I have listed, I did include empowering others and connecting with communities. I think that on a grander scale, this is why I enjoy some of these activities so much, and why I believe I enjoy being a leader so much. I find that empowering others empowers me, and that I feel my most fulfilled when I am connecting with others and roping everyone into a bigger mission, and a really big dedication to connecting with communities. That really speaks to me. Some of these that I have on here are my favorite podcasts and my favorite books. So if you guys are podcast listeners, I highly recommend the Ed Milet Show and On Purpose with Jay Shetty. They're really just, they're profound men that bring on a lot of amazing guests and discuss a lot of very interesting topics. So I highly recommend those. And then my favorite books are the Conversations with God trilogy, The Great Gatsby, and The Wisdom of Yoga by Stephen Cope. So that is a little bit about myself, and this will kind of bridge us over into a little bit more about me and my journey. Like I said, grew up a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer for 10 years. And before I started my Learn to Swim program, I did swim briefly in college at the University of California in San Diego. When I was there, it was the first time that I had really been a part of something bigger than just my hometown and my own experience as a swimmer. I was a part of something a lot larger. The coach for that team was the women's Olympic team coach, and he brought a lot of really great advice to all of us on that team. So it was an awesome experience. And I did unfortunately have to cut my career short a bit abruptly, leading to a couple of injuries. I had some shoulder and some back injuries, but it brought me to where I am today. So I think that there on that team, I really learned a lot about work ethic and teamwork and leadership and time management. So when I returned home after some of my injuries, I did begin that Learn to Swim and Competitive Swim program that I was briefly discussing earlier. It was a turning point in my life. I had stopped swimming and I had to redefine my identity. If you've ever grown up doing something and all of your free time is delegated toward that activity, it's a little bit hard to have that ripped away from you and figure out what makes you tick outside of that. So that was kind of the identity crisis I was going through when I came home and I had stopped swimming, and I wanted to keep swimming in my life. And I became almost so excited about how I was going to retranslate swimming myself to teaching other people how to swim. So I did start the program that I ran for 3 years as a Learn to Swim program, and then expanded to cater toward competitive swimmers, more focused on technique and endurance. It was the first company that I ever started, and it was my very first time leading a staff. We had about 6 to 8 members of our team on staff at a time, and I was really involved in the operations, the marketing, the brand establishment, and all of the things on the backside of the business. So all the legal, all the financial things that go on in a business. And then, of course, the training. So training others, creating those systems and those plans, and implementing them to ensure the success of my team, as well as my brand in the company. So that was when I came home. And after I was able to start that and get the ball rolling, I started at Michigan State, and I, kind of got thrown off a little bit because of COVID. We were at home, had to take a little hiatus from my swim program as well, just because the state of the world was so in pandemonium. But we did come back to that, and I was able to get that up and running after COVID settled down a bit. And a lot of people did prefer the privatized instruction. So it was really great for the business once we implemented all of our protocols and things like that. After Michigan State, I was able to step a bit more into some of my freelance work. So my video creativity and my brand building. I do this for small businesses on the side. So brand establishment, content, and social media for those local businesses. And presently, I am the general manager of Goldfish. So this is our first corporate location, if you will. We're a franchise, so we have 146 now, I believe, locations across North America. And the owners and the president of this company are now opening up a couple of corporate schools across the country. So West Bloomfield was actually the first of those corporate locations. Really exciting. And this has been the most intricate crash course to business I could have ever asked for. I am all over the operations, the marketing, scheduling, training, problem solving, event planning, networking and, relationships with vendors and other businesses and our members and everything of that sort. But what this position has really allowed me to step into is my capacity as a leader and a team builder. So that is what I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about. I did put together a couple of reasons why I love leading. And I think that as a leader, it looks a little bit different for everyone, but I think that the reason why I love leading is because I genuinely do love empowering other people. As I said before, it empowers me. So when I can make someone feel really, really excited about achieving their goals and help them to articulate their goals and push them forward toward personal, professional, mental, emotional growth, that is what fills my cup. So really being able to help others understand and navigate their paths, I feel like is what pushes me forward on my path. Watching people grow and aiding in that development is something that speaks very heavily to me. And I've been able to step into doing that a lot more since I've been a part of this team at Goldfish. With our team, we have about 30 staff members, and I have an assistant general manager. Her name's Alicia. I love her to death. She is amazing. But being able to lead the staff that we have has taught us so much about how groups of people operate and how important it is to individualize the communication methods and the goal setting procedures and the systems and training methods that you're using based on individuals. I think that that's a really important part about being a successful leader, is the ability to individualize your methods of teaching and communication to each person on your team. Of course, as you grow larger, it will be important to generalize that when you're growing and you can't take the time for one of thousands of members of your team. But I do believe that at this stage of being a leader, for me, that's what is so important. And it also makes me feel very fulfilled. I would say that a couple of my favorite responsibilities include the networking, partnerships, and community relations that I get to take part in. I love being a part of the West Bloomfield community. It has blown my mind how welcoming everyone has been. We had a ribbon cutting last week, and everyone there was just so genuinely kind and excited for us. And you don't find that very often. So that was really, really cool to see. And I do love building those relationships with partners that we have in our community, other businesses that we have been able to partner with. One of the more recent partnerships that I've worked out is the Tree Runner. If you guys have ever heard of that, the high ropes courses that they do at Tree Runner, we're going to be partnering with them coming up here, and that is going to be really, really exciting for us. So that's one of my favorite parts about leading, as well as mentoring, speaking, and listening. I think that in order to be an effective and successful leader, it is important to be an effective and successful follower. That's why I included listening and speaking on here. As much as I do love mentoring others and speaking to large groups of people and, understanding dynamics so that I can help to fulfill goals and reach, some exciting standards and things like that. I think it is just as important, if not more important, to increase my capacity as a leader to listen. I think that has been something that has aided in my personal and professional growth, is my ability to listen and take advice and soak everything in. But it has also allowed me to understand my team and the people that I work with on such a deeper level that then allows me to execute the things that I want to help them achieve, or that they want my help in achieving. Really directing people towards their personal and professional success, making sure that I'm both speaking and empowering them, but also listening. And then also recognizing and rewarding. That is one of my favorite parts as a leader. I love catering our team's dynamic toward strengths of specific individuals, and also making sure that we celebrate people. That is one of my core values, and it goes such a long way. I think that words of affirmation, it's one of the 5 love languages, and I think that it is so important to give your team as a leader is those words of affirmation, right? I think people are always going to be working from an intrinsic motivational, standpoint, but receiving some of that external motivation and those words of affirmation goes a long way. So I think that's really, really important. And then I really do enjoy dealing with press and social media. Our Instagram that we have, I love creating those little reels and making fun little clips about, what we've been doing at Goldfish and putting a cute little song on there and creating a brand and a community. That's really enjoyable to me and allows me to exercise my creativity. And then, of course, strategic planning and problem solving and facilitating meetings. I really do enjoy taking something that needs to be fixed and kind of figuring out what's really going on and taking the time to come up with strategies and focusing to fix that problem. So this last slide that I have here and put together is just some of my advice to other women in leadership. I am young and I still have lots and lots to learn, and I'm excited to learn. But I think that starting early and being in the position that I was in, so early on in my journey, I think was important for me because I needed to jump through those hoops in order to truly understand and learn some of the things that I didn't know about what it meant to be a leader. So some of my advice, first and foremost, I know that it sounds kind of cheesy, but I truly believe it through and through. You have to believe in yourself. That is probably the hardest thing, and it's going to be an ongoing struggle for me as a leader, as much as I have a deep-seated belief that I am in this role, in this position for a reason. You can always be approached by self-doubt and comparison to others, but really having a strong belief in yourself and who you are is going to allow you to propel your growth and your team's growth so much further forward because you have something to rely on, and that is your own strength as an individual. So believing in yourself is very important. As often as we do hear it is important. I think that analyzing strengths and weaknesses, your own as well as your team's, regularly is very, very important. So the reason I said your strengths and weaknesses is because I do believe that understanding your strengths and the ability to leverage those strengths as a leader is going to allow you to build the best team possible. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, and it's not something to be ashamed of if you have weaknesses in certain areas, but rather focusing on the areas that you are really, really strong in and maximizing those areas to effectively lead your team, I think is so, so important, because I may be great at speaking and I may not be that great with organizing the files in the back cabinet. So I am going to spend more time developing myself as a speaker, as well as working a little bit here on the back end, but really making sure I'm maximizing that strength to show up here for myself and my team, rather than getting upset with myself and frustrated about the areas that I may not be as gifted in. And that is absolutely okay. And then also your team strengths as well. So like I said, individualizing your methods of communication and leadership to certain people on your team is so important, but also being able to recognize your team's strengths, because you are then able to delegate and elevate your brand, your company, your mission, if you are able to truly understand your team members and their strengths so that you can give them the responsibility and the purpose for their roles that they are going to be able to most effectively fulfill based on the qualities that they bring to the table. I think that's really, really important. And then, of course, reflecting often and asking questions, knowing that it's never unwarranted to ask for help or ask for advice. I think that a lot of women, specifically in leadership, feel like they have to have everything figured out and can almost shy away from asking questions because for whatever reason, we feel that it highlights some of our incompetence, but I completely disagree. I think that the ability to seek out the answers that need to be found and articulating a question to be able to get closer toward that answer is going to not only allow you to understand the mission more fully and more in depth, but it will also show your leading innovation toward reaching that goal. When you're a part of a team, if you have solid individuals on your team, they are going to be excited to answer those questions for you. And then, of course, getting advice from other people who have been through different walks of life, who have accomplished things that you want to accomplish in the future, or or in a position similar to yours. Advice, you can capture advice from everyone. It doesn't matter if they are doing something completely different than you in the business world or have different hobbies than you. It could be as much as a recommendation about a meal. You can always learn something from other people. So making sure that you stay open to that. Building your network up with people that you admire and learning from them. In the same breath, making sure that you are surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals and also people that you look up to, because you want to make sure that you're not always the smartest one in the room, right? That you're not always the hardest working one in the room. You want to be motivated by those people that you are surrounding yourself with, and bringing people into your circle that you admire and look up to allows you to ask for advice and receive mentorship and all of that fun stuff. So make sure that you're always open to learning from others. It does not highlight any sort of inadequacy or incompetence from you, but rather an excitement to learn more and grow. And I think that that's really powerful. Like I said before, being a great leader starts with being a great follower. I believe that wholeheartedly. If you cannot receive and take direction, I do not believe that you will be able to effectively give it. So exercising your qualities and your capacity to follow great leaders and really make sure that you're able to execute a mission when it's given to you is only going to build you up as a leader to then be able to direct that mission later on moving forward. Defining your personal core values and your company core values. So my company, Goldfish, we have our 5 core values, and we bring them up every month at our meetings, at our in-services. We go over them in our weekly meetings, and we have a really, really deep-seated desire to stick true to those core values at all times. So I'm blessed to be a part of a company that has articulated those and follows them so wholeheartedly. But if your company does not have them, or if you do not have them for yourself, I believe that it is very important to define your core values. So those are the things that are what make you or your business you or your business. So what is it that is very, very important to you, and what do you brand yourself or your company on? For example, one of the core values that we have at Goldfish is to operate with integrity, compassion, and trust always. That is at the core of what we do, and it is at the core of our decisions and our interactions and the way that we communicate with our members, with our partners, and with each other. So that would just be one of the 5 that we have, but I think it's very important for you to define those personal and company core values. It allows you to build your team and your brand based upon those pillars. I do believe the power of delegating and elevating is a game changer. So in order to lead a team that feels like they are fulfilling a purpose, or they are working toward the mission, and they have a place in that company that is making a difference, that is inciting change, all of that fun stuff, you have to be able to trust your team enough to give them the responsibility that allows them to feel fulfilled. Sometimes I feel like leaders get really caught up in having their hands all over everything and being a little bit on the erring on the side of being a control freak, because they don't want to let anything go, and they want to make sure that everything's going their way and everything's, operating like a well-oiled machine. But that really is, it's so hard to have your hands in every little thing as a leader. Of course, you should be in the know and aware of what's going on. But when you're focused so solely on the minor day-to-day tasks that you probably could delegate to someone else, it really takes away from your time to effectively lead your team and strategize and improve and work toward the bigger picture. So hiring people that you trust is so important, because you will grow to a point that you have to delegate some of your responsibilities. And it is so important to be able to delegate those to people that you trust. Make sure that you are screening those candidates in the interview process, and defining your core values allows you to then screen those candidates a lot closer to home. And you're able to understand and determine whether or not they fit those core values for yourself or your company. I also have on here to fill your own cup first. As a leader, I have fallen into this pattern before, and I think that it's very common for leaders to stretch themselves so thin because they are trying to fill everyone else's cups before their own, that that's what leads to burnout, and everybody's exhausted all the time, and they don't have the energy and attention to show up for their team because they're being strung in so many different directions. I wholeheartedly believe that in order to fill other people's cups, I have to fill my own cup first. If I cannot effectively lead myself and show up for myself in the areas that make me a good leader, I will not be able to show up for my team and the people that I'm leading. For example, if I am not showing up in my spiritual practices, if I'm not showing up in the gym, if I am not showing up and eating healthy, I feel poorly about myself, and it takes away from my capacity as a leader because I don't feel that I have the credibility to lead people if I'm not leading myself. So making sure that I am managing my time effectively, and that I'm able to delegate time for myself and to fulfill those areas that allow me to show up for myself and then as a leader for my team is very, very important. Couple more on here. The last of these three is that consistency and discipline is always preferred over motivation. Motivation is sporadic. You're not going to be motivated all the time. You're not going to want to wake up at 5 a.m, 7 days a week and be a go-getter for 12 hours a day and then repeat it the same day all over again. You have to rely on your systems and remaining consistent and disciplined rather than feeling motivated all the time. That's something that I am still learning. And honestly, it's an ongoing process, is trying to hold yourself to a standard and remaining consistent and disciplined. But just making sure that you're thinking through your systems so that you can implement them and do your best to remain consistent with them, because you will not be motivated all the time. Second to last, I have that it's so important to embrace the struggle. Some people think that leading is rainbows and unicorns all the time, and it's really, really fun, and it's so awesome to lead a team. It is, but there's a lot of hard work and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes in there. So I think that the key to appreciating the whole experience, the good and the bad, is to really embrace that struggle, because it builds character, and it really allows you to reap the benefits of being a leader and all of the positives and all of the pros to such a greater extent, because you understand what you have done to get there. And also, I think that really stepping into those feelings of struggle, it allows you to just exercise the full range of emotions that we have to experience here as humans. So I think it's really cool, and it also builds your credibility. If you have been able to get through this struggle, you're going to be able to do it again in the future, because there will always be hoops that you're going to have to jump through and mountains you're going to have to climb. So building that credibility and also exercising the entire human experience, I think, is so important. Lastly, I think it is so important to define what success means to you, because we all have different definitions of success. It might be to own a house on a lake, or it might be to own a sailboat and travel the world. Who knows? Success is different for everyone, and it's so important to define what success means to you, because if you do not have an idea of what is going to fulfill you and what you are truly working toward, you will be able to be swayed by different people and different opinions. And it's going to be hard for you to get a grip on what you're doing and understanding why you're doing it. It is so important to have a why as a leader, and you are the one who is responsible for defining that why. And it just takes time. It just takes reflection, question, and you've got people to help you out. That's where you draw on those mentors and you ask them about their stories, because it's really important that you do have that definition of what success does mean to you. So that's kind of what I prepared for today. And I am just so thankful that I was able to hop on here and kind of talk through some of these things, because it really does make my heart so happy. And I love all of the people that invited me here. Thank you, Linda and Suzanne, and then Kathy, of course, for having me on here. It's been a very, very great pleasure of mine.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Gabby. I'm so inspired by your presentation and by you And audience, I just, want to remind you, you're welcome to put questions in the chat if you're joining us via Zoom. And there's a way to do it on Facebook Live as well. And Suzanne can send those questions to me or to ask them directly to Gabby. But don't hesitate to ask questions. But Gabby, I wish I wish I had known you 30 years ago when I was getting started, because everything that you said, I agree with wholeheartedly. I've been a library director for about 1,000,000 years. But, I can relate a little bit as, kind of being a young supervisor and being sometimes the youngest person in the room who's in a management role. And I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with it if, and I hope it hasn't been a common experience for you. I wonder if it has, but because you are younger, people don't maybe take you seriously, or maybe don't want to give you the credibility. How do you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. I am 22, so I am still young. I think that I'm 6 foot and I might look a little bit older. So a lot of people, when I tell them my age, they're taken aback. But I do think that for people who recognize me as being a little bit younger, it's not been an issue for me to the point where I feel like someone is belittling me or not taking me seriously because of my age. I think that falls on me to make sure that I am always prepared. I think that it's important for me as a little bit of a younger woman in management to never open up the opportunity for someone to catch me on something that maybe I am not prepared for. So really going above and beyond and making sure that my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. That has really been what has push me forward in maybe those uncomfortable positions where someone might be questioning me, or if I have the, authority to make decisions that I have to make in this position. And I think that the staff that I have hired, I work with, I have people on the team that I lead that are older than me, that are, twice my age, and I love them to death. And I think that doing all of the screening and the interview process, it was so important for me to feel that the people I was hiring were operating with integrity, compassion, and trust, because I do believe that real recognizes real. And if you have the capacity to exercise yourself as an accepting and inclusive person, that you're going to be able to attract that. And that's what I tried to do in the interview process. Of course, I probably will run into some of those issues outward of my team, but I think that really just being prepared and, like I said, believing in yourself, because you will always have people that question you, but not allowing others' questions to prompt you to question yourself, I think is really important. Just holding true to yourself and knowing that you're in this position for a reason.
Yeah, that is just such wonderful advice. And it's so refreshing to hear a person your age who already knows that. I think that's just so great, because it does take sometimes it takes a lot of years to come to that realization.
And I'm still learning. I still got ways to go. There are always moments of self-doubt where I'm like, oh my gosh, a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, should I be doing this right now? But you should be. You really should.
Yeah. And sometimes, you have experience. That's what makes you grow, right? I mean, you have experiences and you come through them and you handle them. Maybe you handle them well, or maybe you don't, but you certainly learn from them and then carry that on to the next experience.
Absolutely.
So do you think that your sports background prepared you for a career in leadership, with the discipline and, with the challenges that, competitive sports is not easy, and leadership is not easy. So can you talk a little bit about parallels there, how competitive swimming prepared you for this role?
Yeah, I definitely think that being a competitive swimmer, prepared me for the role. As a swimmer, you are a part of a team, and that team atmosphere is what keeps you going. But a lot of times you are racing for yourself as an individual. Unless you're on a relay team, then you are racing together as a team. But it really has both components. So it allows you to show up as a member of a team and lead a team. I was a captain, so being able to empower your teammates and articulate what it is that you want to accomplish as a team. That's the first time I ever did that, was on a swim team. What do we want to do? Do we want to make it to states? Do we want to place top 8 in our relay? Do we want to win the state championship? What is it that we want to do? And how are we going to get there as a team? Really kind of breaking down the championships to the practices, I feel is very similar to goals and systems in a business. So really being able to do that as a member of a team has allowed me to do that as a leader. And I think that understanding as a swimmer, your success is contingent upon how much work you are putting into your sport. Very similar to the way that as a leader, if you are not exercising your full capacity to lead your team and you're not showing up for them 100%, don't expect them to show up 100% for you. So really I guess comparison would be that you get out of something what you put into it. Very similar in sports, very similar in business.
And I also think what struck me when you were talking about your background and your experience is, you graduated from Michigan State in December of 2021. So your college experience was the pandemic.
It was.
That had to be, I mean, I was just thinking, you go to high school and you think of what college is, from the movies or TV or however you have formed your opinion of what college is going to be like, people who've gone before you. And then it's so different. And, that's a little bit trial by fire too. So like, what lessons did you learn going to school in a pandemic, graduating in the midst of a pandemic, trying to get a job in the time of COVID? Talk about that. Cause that's I think an experience that many of us have not had.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy town for a little while. I remember I had transferred, I was a sophomore and I was actually living in the dorms, and I was in the dorms for a couple months, September to March when everything happened. So throughout my entire college career, I only lived from September of 2020, September of 2019 to March of 2020. That was my entire, kind of on-campus experience at Michigan State. And so it was so different. Not only was I a transfer student, but then I got sent home because of COVID. So my time, I don't consider that my time was cut short, but I think it was molded to be very, very different than, like you said, what I expected the college experience was going to look like. I thought it was going to be like, oh yeah, me and my friends are getting together, we're having a blast every night and whatever. And, I was kind of just getting my bearings those first months, and I was testing out new communities and groups, and I felt like I was finally finding my people. And then I was like, oh, now we're going home, so that was hard. But I will say that, coming home at that point in my life was so important for me to water the areas of my life that I probably will never get to again. I was living at home with my brother and my sister who are off swimming in college now. I got to spend those months with them, and I don't think we'll ever live under the same roof again. And so it was so nice to be able to do that. And I think that the whole world slowing down was necessary for me to re-navigate what was important to me. It was so that reset, that slow down, the focus on what matters, and, take time to look introspectively and reconnect with God and all of those things. That was really, really important for me. And to kind of project into the future of, okay, now I've been able to slow down and understand what is important to me. How do I want to implement this in my decisions moving forward? After things calmed down and some of those restrictions were uplifted, that's when I was like, okay, if I had the chance to move back to Michigan State, would I want to do that? Or would I want to opt into taking my classes online and seeing the world? And so that is what I chose, I chose to travel. I chose to, take my classes online and see the world, so I was able to visit Colorado, Hawaii for a couple of months. I was able to travel to Costa Rica, did a road trip around the country, California, did a lot. And I think that the COVID period of time was just a reset in my priorities and what was important to me and what success meant to me. So I feel blessed for it. I really do. I wouldn't change it for a moment.
Well, and it probably, I know for me, certainly, you draw on different resources, you really have to, find comfort in being alone or being with a small group or, not doing the things or, having that slower paced lifestyle. And also you have to adapt. I mean, Absolutely. You have to. And I think in leadership, those are key elements to being a successful leader, flexibility and adaptability, because if you're rigid, it's just not going to work, is it?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's so important also to focus on the positives, because you appreciate what you appreciate, so if you are focused on the good things, and COVID was crazy, and don't get me wrong, there were so many things where I'm like, oh, I wish I had this, or this was taken away from me, but there was so much that was given to me and that was brought into my life in abundance that I have to focus on in order to maintain my sanity, but also my clarity moving forward and my ability to appreciate those things.
Well, and there's always something to be grateful for, isn't there?
Sure.
I mean, no matter what the circumstances, there's always something that you can find that you think, well, you know what, I'm so happy that I have this, or this is, I have the people in my life that I do, or whatever it happens to be. So
Absolutely.
but I want to go back. So so you are the general manager of the Goldfish Swim School. How many people do you have working for you?
So right now we have my assistant general manager, Alicia, and then we have about 31 staff members on our team at the moment. We are like 10 maybe enrollments away from our goal of 600, and we're hoping to be at 1,000 by October. So we're gonna be growing pretty quickly here as we move into the summer. We're going to be opening up some more lanes for our jumpstart clinics and all that fun stuff. So we'll definitely be hiring some more people onto our team as we move forward.
Because that's a big staff. That's not insignificant. I mean, not four people or 2 people. I mean, you have a big job, and your job is the entire operation. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know you've talked about it a little bit, but maybe you could go into more depth. I mean, it's a challenge, and it's the best challenge. I'm the library director, so I'm in charge of the whole library, and I think it's the best job in the whole world. But there are days if I step back from it, I think, I've been doing it for a while, so I'm used to it, but I think it is kind of a big job. Do you ever have those days where you go, wow, I do a lot?
Absolutely. I do. And what's so funny is that now that I have this position and I recognize how much like the entire business is really in your hands, and everything that's going on, you play a role in that. And it's so funny. I'll be driving, to work, and I will see a new company with a sign up, and I'll be like, I wonder what vendor they ordered their sign from, because I was the one who was ordering our banners and all of our things like that. It's every little thing like that. It's, the flyers and the customization, like, wow, they really coordinated those colors, because I know I'm the one coordinating the colors over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's every little thing. And it makes me recognize so much more in, other businesses, and how much thought and energy and time is put into the little things, because that is what makes a business flourish. If you're not focusing your attention to every little detail, it will show up, especially in comparison with, some of your competitors or other businesses in your industry. But there are absolutely times where I sit back and I'm just like, I just need a second to breathe, but being able to prioritize, because in a position like yours as a director, or like mine as a manager, there's always going to be something to do. And so the power of prioritization and I guess managing your time and your energy is what I keep learning is so, so important, because there's always going to be a million things that you could do, or that you're going to have to do, but sectioning your time off and planning is what helps me keep that under control.
Yeah, time management. And I'm, like you, I'm so blessed because I have the most wonderful staff. They're great. And I really appreciate your comments about delegating and hiring great people and letting them do their work, because you can, I think, as a manager, as a leader, if you allow yourself, get bogged down in that micromanaging thing. It's never been a tendency of mine, I'm happy to say, because I have always had great staff, but I've seen it happen, and you can lose yourself in the weeds. And I think the organization can be poorer for it. People, I think, sometimes think that they have to be a micromanager and that's what's required, and it's really quite the opposite.
I agree. I agree, and I think the atmosphere at Goldfish and what we've created in our culture is that it's always open communication. If you're feeling really great about something, we want to hear it. If you're feeling not so great about something, we want to hear it. And, there have been some times where you can taste the frustration in the air, or some attitude if somebody's having a bad day or whatever. And, we open up the floor for conversation. And I remember having a conversation with one of our staff members because we had asked for something to be done, and there was a little bit of, pushback, it felt like. And so when we had addressed it with our staff member, it was like, well, I just really don't do well with someone that when I feel like I'm being micromanaged. And of course, that's never what our goal is. But when people feel like they're being micromanaged, it's so psychological in feeling like there is someone belittling you or talking down to you. And I never want to create that kind of culture or energy, in a team that I'm working with. But I think it is so important that you give people that purpose and that responsibility, and that you're not looking over their shoulder like a hawk 24/7, because they're not going to want to perform if they feel like you don't trust them.
Exactly. So one of the things in the short time that we've spent together that I just think is so wonderful is you have such enthusiasm. So how do you keep your enthusiasm up on a regular basis? I know you talked about filling your cup, but is there anything that you do, and then carry that motivation onto your team? Because I think any of us who lead teams, it's the marathon, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes you're in mile 19 and you're like, okay, we're still going and you gotta keep going. But come on, everybody. After you've been, maybe saying the same thing for the first 19 miles, how do you change it up to get them through the last 7 of that marathon, or just give them that push to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to be as energized as possible. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I have my days where I am exhausted and don't talk to me right now, I can't do this. But I really, really do try to be the person that I feel like I need for other people. You can tell the difference when you walk into a room of people who are smiling and they're welcoming and they're excited to talk to you, versus people that are slouched down and they're kind of like lackadaisical and not really excited to see you. And they're like, oh, hey, what's up? So I want to be that energized person for other people, because I really do think that success and, selling something is all about a transfer of excitement. And if I can get people excited about what they're doing, then we're going to work together toward our goal. But that requires me to be excited about what I'm doing, which is why I feel like it's so important to have a why and to define your version of success and what that means to you. And part of my version of success is to be joyful and to have the opportunity to focus on the positives in life, so my ability to do that on a day-to-day basis and inspire others to do the same, then it just allows me to feel like that's materializing somewhere, which is my goal. So having your why is really important. And then you got to get that sleep. You got to get that sleep, because when I don't get my sleep, that's when my energy is low and I'm not able to show up for my team. So sleep is more important than you think.
So I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I did want to ask you, maybe this can be our wrap-up question. I feel like someday I want to vote for you for president or
I totally agree.
I don't know if, and I don't want to be too nosy or personal, but do you have a grand plan? What do you see for yourself for the next 5, 10, 25 years?
Well, I don't know if I'll be infiltrating the political sphere, but we'll see. I think that realistically, some of my goals in the short term is to continue building the team that we have here at Goldfish. And really, I want to exercise our mission at Goldfish on a grander scale. I would love to help take this company international on a more volunteer basis. I would love to empower other people to make them feel safer in and around the water. That was kind of my mission when I started my company, and I would love to take that international. I also have, my personal goals. For me, what I think is so important when I mentioned defining your core values and the core values of your business and articulating your brand and your mission, that's what I want to help other people do, whether that's personally or on a business, kind of sector. That's what I want to help people to define their direction. So that's a goal of mine. And I really do envision myself empowering other people on more of a public speaking level. That is something that I really, really am working toward. And I would like to be more hands-on in as the next couple of years move forward. And I think that, with my definition of success being flexibility and joy and ability to spend time doing things that I love and my loved ones. It's very heavy emphasis on, me having autonomy over my schedule and my time. I think that whatever I do, it's going to be keeping that at the forefront of what I'm working toward, whether that is continuing on with Goldfish and building up and also kind of maintaining my hobbies on the side, or if I am going to allow some of my hobbies to flourish as more of a business venture on the side.
How exciting. Oh, I can't wait to see what you do, and how inspirational too. So I think that brings us to the end of our time. But I want to thank Gabby. Thank you. I feel like I'm going to hit my day and just, go out and, motivate my staff and come up with a 10-year plan and just
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes, Gabby, you're beyond inspirational.
Oh my goodness.
So impressed. And I can hardly wait to see where your journey takes you, and maybe I can ride on your coattails a little.
Well, you guys are awesome, and I really do think that you're so welcoming of me, and really inspiring me as women in leadership. And I love that you guys are cheering me on and each other on, and I think that's so important as a woman and to do that for other women. So I thank you guys so much. That you guys really are I'm looking up to you guys. So thank you so much.
Well, I hope you'll come back and revisit. You truly are a role model, especially for younger women. It's still, I don't like to, play the age card, but it's amazing that at your wise age of 22, that you are at the point you're at. It's really mind-boggling. So your parents or someone did a really good job.
Yeah, and I'll just chime into that and say, certainly inspiring and motivational for people your age, but for those of us who are older, it's good to have a reminder of why we do what we do and to recapture that joy. And I have the best job in the world. I love my job, but I think it's important to have a moment in the day to think, I have the best job in the world, instead of just, oh, it's time to do this, it's time to do this, just step back and think, how lucky am I, that I get to do this. So and I agree with you. I'm fairly new to the West Bloomfield community. I've been here about 2 years. A great community, very welcoming, very inclusive, embracing, and supportive of business and recreation, quality of life. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that
you're so happy. You are a perfect fit for our community. And yes, grateful attitude equals gratitude. If you can wake up every morning and say thank you, and try to start your day out that. But yes, the more you love what you do and you can infect people with your enthusiasm. And I think that's the thing that employers need to, make sure that they are grateful to the employees, that you're the front line. This is who people meet every day. And if you don't like what you're doing, people are not going to want to come and visit your business. So I think, they're very lucky at Goldfish Swim. And I wish I could clone you and have you work with me too. But I'm excited that you're a community partner. And Kathy and Linda, these are two very inspirational women that every day try to, make a positive influence in our community. So I'm grateful to all of you. And yes, women especially, we need to support one another. We need to help rise women up. The more you uplift someone, the more you are uplifted.
I totally agree.
I'm unanimous.
I wish I had some kids or grandkids that I could take to the swim school.
I know. Well, if you guys have anyone, family, friends, or whatever that might look like, please stop in, even if it's just to say hello and check out the facility.
I will.
Yeah, I want you to hit that target goal.
Yes.
Yes, we're so close. We're right there.
You'll do it. You'll do it.
Really beautiful. It's really beautiful there. So yes, I encourage everyone to go visit. And I think they even have a free family swim, you can try out. So, go there, see Gabby. I just say again, thank you to all the positive women that are making an impact in our community and our lives. And I'm grateful to all of you.
Thank you so much, all of you guys.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a good day.
Bye now.
Enjoy the sunshine.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Crucial Conversations. I hope that you were inspired by this talk and reminded that you are capable of anything you have the capacity to imagine. Share this episode with someone that you want to help unlock their maximum potential. Because sometimes in order to find the answers, you have to know how to ask the questions. And that is what we do on this podcast. I love you all, and I will see you next time on Crucial Conversations. You!